It's 2022 and you're still using an old mechanical hard disk as your boot drive in Windows. Things seem to be working fine, but you notice Windows is getting slower and slower the more you use it. Then you come across an article like this: Microsoft is killing the HDD by 2023. And it has you thinking, maybe I should upgrade. Right now, SSDs are so cheap, and depending on your drive size needs, it's basically a financial no-brainer. Let's take a look at Amazon. Check this out: a Kingston 480 gig SATA 2.5-inch drive for $40, or this Crucial MX500 500 gig for $51. Let's say you decided to pull the trigger on the upgrade, but you don't want to go through all the work of setting up everything like you had it. There's a quicker option: drive cloning. So in today's video, we'll take a look at the straightforward process of cloning your old system drive to a new one and reaping the speed benefits of SSDs. Here's a janky old system I pulled out of a box just for this video. It's rocking an AMD GX 415GA APU with Radeon HD 8330E graphics from 2012 and only has one SATA slot for a drive. It originally came with a 1 terabyte hard drive, as this was a decommissioned Datto backup device, but I couldn't find that original drive, so I put in a 320 gig mechanical drive and installed a fresh copy of Windows 10 and also installed a few games. We'll take a look at CrystalDiskMark's benchmark speed with the mechanical drive, and then after we're done cloning it, we'll also test that on the SSD, and then we'll compare load times in a couple of older games as well. 78 megabytes a second sequential isn't super great. Let's remember these numbers and move over to the game loading times. Call of Duty MW3 loaded up in about 33.31 seconds from the desktop to the menu. And then we'll load up Dome here, and that loaded in 39.73 seconds. Moving over to Dirt 3 Complete Edition. And don't mind the weird colors. 52.54 seconds from the desktop to the main menu. And loading up a single race was 28.22 seconds. Moving over to Left 4 Dead 2. Left 4 Dead 2 loaded up from the desktop to the main menu in 64.62 seconds. And loading into the Dead Center Streets map took 62.68 seconds. So you might be thinking to yourself, okay, so my system's slow, it's got a mechanical hard drive, what am I supposed to do? Well, here's the thing. I like to use a software called Macrium Reflect, and it's really easy to use, so let's go ahead and download that. They have a free version, which should work just sufficient for any home use for the most part. So just do a free personal license, and then you can type in your email address, and then they're gonna send you a key to register that. We'll download the actual MSI installer. All you have to do is just click on Launch Now, and that'll bring up the software. Now you might be thinking to yourself, what am I supposed to do at this point? I don't have any way of getting this onto another drive, right? Okay, so you will need something else. What I like to use is this Sabrent adapter. So for today's video, I have a SK Hynix solid state drive. So right now we have a 320 gig drive, and I'm gonna be cloning it to this 500 gig drive. So all this is just a little USB 3 adapter, and it comes with a cable, and you plug one end into this, and you plug the other end, there's an on-off switch, and I'll put a link to this in the description, but you just put the drive into this. It's real easy. Put the drive in, and then there's a little cushion in there. And I'll put the cover back on. There. And it's a nice kind of cool little enclosure. And then you take the other end and you plug this into your system. So we'll take our USB cord here and we'll plug it in, preferably a USB 3 port. And you hear the sound of it connecting. It should light up blue. There we go. Okay, so now that we have this hooked up, see if it's detecting that drive. I don't see anything in here yet, so let's go to manage and just make sure that it's picking it up. Okay, so it is seeing the drive hooked up. It's just unallocated because it hasn't been formatted. So that's a good sign. We can hop over to Macrium Reflect and then refresh the disks here. And so now it sees that Sabrent, which is the adapter that I'm using, not the actual disk. But it does see a 465 gigabyte SSD. So all you have to do is, now this first drive here is your primary drive with all of its partitions. And you just need to check this first box and then click on clone this disk. And then you need to pick the destination. So select a disk to clone to. And you'll choose this other drive that you hooked up. Then it'll say copy selected partitions when I click next. That's all you have to do. Hit next, and it'll ask if you want to schedule it. You don't have to do that because you want to run this now. And it will do an intelligent sector copy. So that typically works out the best, the intelligent sector copy. I haven't had issues with it. If it doesn't work out, there might be some other options you can tweak, but taking the defaults on this is usually the best method of doing this. So we can untick the save as backup definition because we just want to run it now. Hit OK, and then we wait. So it looks like the clone process finally completed. It took about an hour, and that's to be expected because hard drives are slow. But anyway, it is finished, so let's click OK. And now if we close out of Reflect, we can see it here that the drive is the same size with all the partitions. So if we close out of Reflect, we can see that we have two drives now that are showing up. We have a C drive and the D drive. Now it took the same volume label, so let's change that to SSD. So we know the difference here. Okay, so now what do we do next? Well, we've got to shut down the system, pull out the hard drive, and then we'll put in the SSD, and then that should be it. We'll boot into Windows and make sure everything's working and how it is improved over the mechanical hard drive. Okay, for this system, it's real quick. We'll just unplug the drives, and we won't need this plugged in anymore. And we need to take out only 3 of these. Okay. And so here we can see in the system that there is a 320 gig Seagate Momentous 7200 RPM drive, 4 gig of RAM stick in here, and then the Wi-Fi module. So let's get these 2 screws out so we can take this drive out. And I'll be using my iFixit toolkit again. And of course this will differ from your system, but this is just an example of how to change it on this one. I'll pull that cable, open this up. It just kind of comes out at an angle from this enclosure. Okay, that's it. So let's fire it up and see what it does. It's booting. There's the welcome screen. And there we go, we're into Windows. So just like that. So now that we're getting back into Windows, let's just kind of give it a quick check over and make sure that we are on the SSD. The volume label's saying SSD is still on here, and now you can see that it's showing 297 gigabytes of usable space. So let's expand that space so it uses up the rest of the drive. So if we go to manage, or disk management is where we're looking to go. And you'll see here we have another 167.67 gigabytes of unallocated space. Now, it could be a little bit of an issue when the unallocated space is past the recovery partition. You may need to use AOMEI Partition Assistant. That's a free piece of software that'll let you expand to that unallocated space. Okay, let's go over a quick 2-minute guide on using AOMEI Partition Assistant. We'll head out to their website at aomeitech.com and download the freeware version of AOMEI Partition Assistant Standard Edition. Open the installer and use the defaults in here. After it's installed, launch the program, and there might be some ads that pops up. Close out of these things like this Windows 11 update checker. Target the unused space and click on Merge Partitions, and make sure you check the 2 boxes, the one for your main drive and the unallocated space, and then hit OK. Go to Apply, review the changes it's going to make, and then start the process. Use the Restart into Windows PE mode and hit OK. It'll take a little bit of time, but what it's going to do is create a pre-bootable environment, and it's going to reboot into that. It's going to apply the changes, and then reboot back into Windows again, and your drive space will be expanded. The reason this is necessary is because Windows Disk Management tool has limitations on moving partitions that are adjacent to used partitions. So now we can see that the full space is being utilized, and we got 465 gigs total space. So let's just give it a CrystalDiskMark test and see what this SSD improvement gave us. 536 on the sequential. That's pretty remarkable. It looks like the randoms, we've got 58 here. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. We could compare it to the scores here for the old one. Now, is Windows more snappy? Yeah, I believe so. Things open a lot faster. Browsing's a lot quicker. But we want to see the benchmarks of how long it takes to open like the games, because that's what we did. Call of Duty MW3, 24.15 seconds over 33.31 seconds. It's an improvement of 9 seconds. And loading the map is an improvement of about 9 seconds as well. Moving over to Dirt 3, desktop loading time is about 2 seconds slower on the SSD. And I ran it a couple times and it was still slower, so must be an anomaly. But loading the map in, we can see that the speed improved by about 5 seconds. And lastly, loading up Left 4 Dead 2, which was the longest to load. That had a load of 55.55 seconds over 64.62, so another gain of about 9 seconds. And then loading up the map, this one is the biggest gain at about 14 seconds faster using the SSD. Yeah, looks like an SSD is definitely the way to go. It's definitely a big improvement for your system. If you have an Intel 8th gen processor or newer system that's still running a mechanical drive for your boot drive, I would definitely recommend upgrading it to an SSD. It's very good value nowadays, and then you could even take your old hard drive and use that as a secondary drive for larger storage of like data and games and whatnot. But as long as you get your boot drive onto an SSD, that seems to be the best route to go. So yeah, that's all I had for you today. Thanks for watching. If you like this content, hit like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. I'm going to have part 2 of the Nintendo Switch versus Steam Deck video coming up, so stay tuned for that. And again, thanks for watching. God bless. Take care.